Now, he does go on to mention that Never Stop got some great donations after the video, so I guess he got what he wanted. And here, you know, Jake starts getting vulnerable about another issue that may be fueling some of the decision-making behind his posts. And then immediately after getting, you know, to something real, it's back to some really strange stuff again.
We did get a lot of donations in support of Never Stop, which was great,
But there shouldn't be a but after that. Just like celebrate the wins and like.
My mom was helped by your charity. I mean, it doesn't. I appreciate it, but nobody believes it.
Wow. So someone on the live commented, my mom was helped by your charity. And he immediately blows them off and dismisses them. He immediately smirks and is like, cool, I appreciate it, but no one believes it. That is such a demeaning thing to say to someone who it sounds like was helped by his charity. Again, and I don't want to like disparage the charity. I think if he's doing it on the up and up, it could have some great potential. Why would you say that to someone? I don't get this guy.
You tried to emotionally manipulate your fellow creators to not donating to your charity live and make the video in public. So that's not what I was trying to do.
I don't know what he was trying to do if he wasn't trying to scare them.
Nobody really like the people who I was talking about aren't subscribed to the channel, so I was kind of like,
what does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. I was just trying to out loud rant, and like I don't know. Like I'm not getting views.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was just.
That doesn't have anything to do with it.
If that was on Patreon, it would be fine.
Why would that be fine? So, okay, him saying that if it was on Patreon, that would be fine, tells me that he's not sorry for what he posted, for the blackmail, for the shaming of his audience and making them feel guilty about if they have or haven't donated money, and for how he's treating his friends behind the scenes, that he's not sorry. Saying if I put it behind a paywall, then it would be fine, means you're okay with it.
But like, I don't know, I took it down with I don't know, 11K views.
Why does that matter?
You're allowed to rant on your channel. I honestly feel like I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
Threatening an ultimatum of 1 month. I know, and like the thing is, like when I said that, it's literally like that footage is like 40 minutes long. I sent that to an editor because I can't because I have been focused on trying to get my health, and then I just posted it, and it's I don't know.
Wow, can you imagine 40 minutes of that video? It was forever just getting through 15 minutes of it. It is unbelievable to me to do a rant video like that where you're threatening and blackmailing to expose creators who were just minding their own business. And you send it off to an editor and you're like, oh, whatever. Pepper in some, muted conversations with nurses and extreme close-ups, and it's safe to say that Jake's live Q&A didn't necessarily smooth things over in the way that he had probably hoped. So what's the next logical step? He uploads yet another video to explain even more, simply titled, Addressing Everything. Okay, so all that being said, let's see what Jake has to say about the video, the now deleted video that he made about the nonprofit with the blackmail-y bits.
Hello, everyone. My last video sucked.
Yes.
And
we love a self-aware king. Come on now. Have we learned?
the following live stream of me in the hospital trying to see what my audience thought of the video and if everybody hated me was also a really stupid fucking decision. I want it to be known that that live stream was not a response to the videos made. At the time, there was one video made about me, and I went live against my fiance's wishes. She was texting me the entire time telling me to get off live.
Why didn't you listen? Is that Shane Dawson behind him in a cutout?
But I thought that I could explain what was going on while in the ER, in a lot of pain, and dealing with insurance shit.
Okay, so the first thing that I think people are going to take away right now, first impressions of this, because again, no one wants to hear that he was in the hospital, that he was in a lot of pain, and that there's insurance stuff. That sounds like a terrible situation. Many of us have been there, and it sucks, and I don't wish that on anyone. That being said, why is this the first thing in an apology video? Although, you know, I could see someone giving some context around their headspace of what they were doing.
Literally, like, I'll go live, I'll see what the audience thinks, and then hope.
I think that you knew what the audience thought.
Going live and trying to talk about that kind of stuff was really dumb. Also, being in pain, not in a good mental state, and in the middle of talking to nurses, also very dumb.
Again, I'm trying to be sympathetic because he clearly seems like he has got like health stuff going on, right? And that sucks. And I hope he finds healing. I really do. It just feels ill-placed in what's supposed to be like, I don't even know if I can call this an apology video because it is titled addressing everything, and it's not like, I don't know if this is an apology video.
Not only did I go live thinking that I could clear everything up in the span of 20 minutes while waiting for results from knee scans, I also just dug myself a deeper hole. There's a lot to address, and thinking that I could clear things up while on a vertical live stream holding the phone below my chin is clown behavior. I was genuinely
At least he's self-aware there, right? This is better.
trying to compartmentalize everything that was going on, and there was one video that was made and H3 was going live, and I was like, okay, so if I address this, then there's nothing to talk about, everything's all good, and then I can focus on my health.
Oh man, you threatened to blackmail those effing YouTubers. So I don't know if it's gonna be smoothed over in a quick little live stream moment.
And in reality, while in the hospital live streaming and getting results like that, it only made things worse. So
Yeah.
this, I guess, is my response to everything that's been said.
So he's not calling it an apology, he's just calling it his response. Okay.
I want to start out by saying the video that I posted, I was very upset recording that. The
Interesting.
attitude and the tone, everything was bad. I came across as annoying and entitled, and prior to recording that day, I had been dealing with one of the first like big major health scares that I have had in the last 3 to 4 years.
I understand maybe more than some people why he's referencing the health stuff, because that sounds like that was actually the reality of his situation in those moments. And so to a certain degree, he's giving context. And context, I am a firm believer, context. I just know the internet.
Since I've started YouTube, my health has been somewhat okay. I've only had 1 or 2 surgeries in the last 3 to 4 years, whereas prior to that, there was a lot more and a lot more doctor appointments, and I felt much worse. I was kind of...
Well, I'm certainly glad that he's feeling better. Again, this is one of those things where it's like, I'm just a little lost on what the purpose of this video actually is, because he was talking about like this is addressing everything, and it's very clearly people are walking into this thinking he's going to address why on earth he decided to post a video trying to blackmail YouTubers who are just minding their own business, who he shamed. He kind of ruthlessly shamed people, and he went out of his way to like try to give you lots of hints to try to figure out who some of these creators are, which then could create a really crap narrative against those people when they legitimately, in this scenario at least, haven't done anything wrong.
Proved because I needed an x-ray first. I recorded that video with no notes or preparation. It was 45 minutes as a raw file.
He had no notes on that video that is now deleted where he was blackmailing, etc., etc.
Sent that off to be edited and thumbnailed. It came back as 15 minutes, and I dragged and dropped it into YouTube Studio, attached the thumbnail, and said fuck it, which was probably one of the worst.
That is so unbelievable. Let's take that back a second.
Dragged and dropped it into YouTube Studio, attached the thumbnail, and said fuck it, which was probably one of the worst choices I could have made. But I think that's kind of where my mind was at the time.
He's either the most honest and self-aware person right now and just be like, look, this is what, listen, it was a dumb thing that I did, that's where I was at, and that's what happened. So like in a certain degree, I can be like, okay, I can almost appreciate just how dryly truthful that is, I guess. But that is so wild to me to think that he was like, listen, I just ranted for 45 minutes, I didn't have a plan, didn't really know what I was gonna say, shipped it off to an editor and someone to make a thumbnail, and they brought it back to me, it was 15 minutes long. I don't even know, did he even review it? I don't know. And then he just dragged and dropped, uploaded it, and was like, screw it, F it, going up. That's wild and so irresponsible to me, knowing that he was trying to get some creators caught by dropping the little hints without dropping their names yet, but he was also blackmailing them. He wanted to cause fear, I think, in these creators that, hey, if you don't give up your money within the next 30 days, you are going to be named. And that's wild to me. More importantly, if the creators don't get, you know, found out, and honestly, they didn't do anything wrong. So there's that. But this creates more tarnish, more bad around the nonprofit. And isn't that supposed to be the focus? Helping people? Now it's kind of stained, like a lot stained. Although I guess he got a bunch more donations, so maybe it'll be okay.
It had also been declined for disability insurance because since I'm self-employed, I don't meet the requirement.
I'm honestly like, I'm gonna like maybe skip through or like figure that I'm just kind of uncomfortable with how much of this is being discussed when I thought he was going to address like the video and the blackmail and maybe talk about the nonprofit and not so much about what sound like very intimate details about his health. Really, truly hope that he gets out of that nightmare. And again, I'm not saying that the nonprofit's bad. If it's great, if you feel motivated to donate to it, please do so.
It was a complete throwaway video. There's a lot of
It wasn't a throwaway video when you're talking about in a month you're gonna name drop and expose and like harm other people's careers for doing nothing wrong.
the stuff that I was saying in that I still stand by, where, you know, I want never stop to work. Like all the basics of it are still very true, but then in my anger, I would say things like, if after a month nobody ends up donating, then I'm gonna have to talk about the people who have declined to donate. And that's fucking stupid.
Yes.
That was me trying to be like, this is how hard I'm trying to make things work. And in reality, it came across as, you know, I have a bunch of rich people who I know. Why don't they give my charity money?
At least he acknowledged that. It took us a while to get here, but at least he acknowledged that.
That we haven't been able to up the amount of money given over time, and we are only getting more and more applicants, and we don't have the finances to give out more money to more people. Also, because videos that I've been posting haven't been getting views, and I'm freaked about not being able to post or make money if I have another health scare. I was like, it's something to post. It's not going to get views anyways, but I might make $100 off of it. And
that hurts to hear that. For $100, you were willing to sell your friends out, because that's the other thing is like, we might not know the names of these creators, but if they watched it, they probably know that he's talking about them. And so for maybe $100, you sold these friends out over nothing. They didn't do anything. They literally did not do anything. They did not give money when you wanted them to give you money. And then you shamed them and acted like they're not doing any good in the world.
that was also really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I had been telling myself, like, I'm going to post every 2 to 3 days. I think it was on day 2 or 3 that I hadn't uploaded, and I was like, I have to do something. Let me just fucking do this.
He's going to have a problem, I think, with people trusting him, right? Like good people, good creators, whatever it may be, trusting him, because this is how he's so flippant about this. And I just don't understand this guy. He frustrates me. I'm trying to be sympathetic to the health stuff, but also I just want to keep his health stuff completely separate from the topic at hand here, even though he brings it up a lot. And he's allowed to. I just might cut around it because I don't, yeah, he frustrates me. And I think he's going to encounter people who don't trust him, because this is what he did to people who have done nothing wrong, trying to make good people bad people just because he needed some content that day. Oh, do I know some creators like that?
the worst decision I could have made.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Susperians, it is time to step out of the dark waters of the cesspool. Grab a towel and dry off. That's what I got. If you want to hear more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and tickle the like button for more. Okay, she likes it right under the chin like a cat. And let me know in the comments if you have any stories that you would like us to dip into over here. Stories you want us to deep dive into on my main. You can also be sure to grab your very own brand new pieces from the Cesspool collection and the Valid Ribcage. We've got some new colors there and some restocks for those of you who've been asking. Again, I designed these pieces to just have some fun while we dip into these stories. I know you're gonna love them as much as I do. And please make sure to always tag me in your outfit photos if you like, so that I
Well, speaking of the response you would expect to get, do you want to take a look at this video from Mr. Luke Beasley?
Yeah.
Our friend of the show, Josiah? Yeah, so we're going to take a look at some of the more liberal side of YouTube.
Yeah.
Of, political YouTube. I would say Luke Beasley is definitely just a straight lib. You know what I'm saying? Like not in the intolerable way like Destiny is. Like I don't think this guy's out here like simping for the Zionist government of Israel or anything crazy like that. I think he's like pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't think he's an edgelord like Destiny.
Exactly. But even though he might be, of the same sort of ilk, they might be friends. I'm not sure. I know Josiah hangs out with Destiny sometimes, and I know Luke and Josiah are friends. But either way, I'm not trying to do any guilt by association bullshit. I think that for the most part, Luke is a pretty good debater. Actually, I've seen him straight up destroy some right-wing bullshit, some idiocy in real time. And again, as much as I've traditionally been a critic of mainstream American liberalism, I do think it's fair to say that in the current moment, a lot of liberals, people like Luke Beasley, seem to be taking the threat of MAGA more seriously than some people that at one point I respected, like Cenk Uygur. So that's really interesting to take note of. It does give me a little bit of optimism, given the fact that there's a lot more liberals in the Democratic Party than leftists, right? So if we've taken this threat seriously, we're taking it seriously. It's good to know. But do you have anything to say about this guy?
Yeah, so I was hearing before we reacted to this, because I was not familiar with him outside of a few Pierce Morgan appearances. So I looked him up. He seems like a nice kid, like a good liberal, right? He seems like the kind of guy that would go to a White House Christmas party. He wouldn't protest that though. So that's kind of where I find his politics,
That's
right?
such a good point.
You know what I mean? Like I think he would schmooze with the president and then go back to making like I'm a Democrat. Like he's just more of a guy that sees himself in like that old school way. Like I don't think he would bristle at being around the powerful people that also like kill babies abroad. I am just saying that in like a way that I could totally see him having a cocktail with Pete Buttigieg and like smiling and waving and having a good time.
Hey, Pete's the transportation secretary. He doesn't kill anyone abroad.
That's true. No. I was just saying in addition to. I could see him with Obama. I could see him with all those guys being like thrilled to be there. Like,
Luke is actually going to be joined by a good friend of the show, Josiah from Pondering Politics, a channel that we've been pretty supportive of, and Josiah is a fan of ours as well. So, that's cool to see him pop up. I always am a big fan of Josiah. Like I said, he's also another liberal, but he's a good liberal. Trust me.
Yeah, Josiah's a fair guy. As Gavin points out to me a lot of times, he was like, you were kind of a dick to Josiah the first time he came on. I was like, I think we were debating a little bit. I like to verbally scrap with some of these liberals when they come on, find out if they're tough or not, see if they actually believe what they're saying. But yeah, anyway, it's always fun when you see the walls start to crack and you see people like Destiny, like, Brian Tyler Cohen, like Luke Beasley go after Cenk and kind of like put the heat to him. Like I said, you know what I mean?
Yep, 100%. I'm not sure why it keeps loading.
We've talked a lot about MAGA infighting, and that is the most relevant thing right now as they're about to take power. But there is a little bit of inner movement, inner left infighting taking place that we've been covering regarding the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur. And I want to do a deep dive into an interview that Cenk did with one of the people on his network, Francesca Fiorentini, and it got pretty heated at different moments, as you'll see, and I think a lot of valuable discussion could come of it. I'll lay out the context if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, but first I want to bring in Josiah to help me break this down from Pondering Politics. Josiah, great to be with you.
I'm getting ready for the deep dive, Luke. I've got my scuba gear on. I'm ready to dive. Good to be with you, buddy.
God, you're not a father yet, but you're such a dad. So the context is that Cenk Uygur has been getting a lot of backlash. For the purposes of this conversation, let's separate Cenk and Anna Kasparian, because I think Anna Kasparian is just a different, unique case about her sort of shift and all of that. But if you're not aware, the Young Turks has long been the biggest progressive media network, and now there's a little bit of ideological shifts happening, especially with Anna Kasparian. With Cenk Uygur, he's doing a lot of outreach to MAGA. And what's nuanced about this is you can appear with and show up on MAGA platforms, as I do, to debate them. And you can do so responsibly, just like how we've talked about with Kristen Welker's bad interview some time ago with Donald Trump. You could interview Trump responsibly. She failed in one of the cases and then was better in a different case. And so as we watch these clips, keep that in mind. He showed up at this Turning Point USA hardcore MAGA Charlie Kirk event, and there wasn't much debate going on. It felt a little bit too hunky-dory, but we'll get into that after watching some of these clips, starting with this one.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, it's like, it's not an understatement to say that I've lost sleep over what's been going on, that I've been really upset, angry, and like wounded, if that makes sense to you.
I know Zach has also lost sleep over the situation, guys. Trust me.
I've actually been sleeping better than ever. Shout out to you, Jank. You know what? I bought myself some new sheets. Okay, you know what?
Text me in 3 a.m. You know, I was being awakened by a nightmare. Cenk Uygur visiting him.
No,
in the middle of his, you know, REM cycle.
Yeah, creeping through the speakers. He's coming to get me. No.
I have also refrained from tweeting at you, Cenk. I've refrained from doing videos about you without your presence. I've refrained from misrepresenting you. But man, on the inside, it's been rough. So I do want to ask you, you know, I feel like we are on the precipice.
We just can't overstate how big of a humiliating L this is for him. I'm sorry, I'll let the other guys talk a little bit because we do want to show the libs some love as we go in and we say, you know what, the left has to fight together against fascism. But whew, look at Cenk. He's taken like the fattest L I've ever seen, and he's doing it on a camera in front of somebody that is like trying so hard to be nice to him, and it only makes it worse. You know?
Of a really perilous time of true authoritarianism coming to the United States. And someone like you, who has been such a leader on the progressive left, has such a massive role to play in this moment as a stalwart of resistance, as so many of these centrists are kowtowing to the right. And then I see you on the same stages with, and in the same rooms with, the right-wingers who are mouthpieces of said authoritarianism. And I don't believe that you are actually pushing back instead. And I think there's a project here to trying to find points of agreement. So what are you doing, and why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, you know, that you're having me on as opposed to talking about me and raging, etc., without actually getting into the full conversation. So, look, first, let me acknowledge, Franny, that I get why people are concerned. So you've seen this pattern a number of times. So people think, oh, this is the beginning of the pattern. We know how that ends, right?
So let's stop that clip there. Start discussing a little bit. The big thing from Cenk that this latest round of backlash is prompted by is him saying, listen, I'm opposed to MAGA, but I think we can work with them on some stuff. And so I'm going to go reach out to them, and I'm going to go to this Charlie Kirk event and talk about how it's so great that MAGA boos Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. Y'all really might be anti-establishment, and we can unite on that. And Josiah, I want to get your take before going further on just the broader goal, because both of us understand, yeah, you could work on something with a really bad person as long as you cross over on that issue, and you can appear on MAGA platforms to confront the ideology. And then if you find a common ground, cool. But there's something wrong that I've described. I want to hear your version of it about how Cenk Uyghur's going about this.
There's a lot wrong in my opinion. So, you know, we've actually seen a handful of elected Democrats come out and publicly say that they'd be willing to work with Doge, for example, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. You have Congressman Ro Khanna, Congressman Jared Moskowitz. I interviewed Congressman Maxwell Frost recently, and he said, you know, in theory, he'd be open to it as well. He's just deeply skeptical about Doge's intentions, about their credibility. And I think that that's the healthy posture to have.
We've also doubled down on this show and said, hey, like, I haven't personally been in love with Bernie Sanders coming out and being like, I'm trying to call your bluff. I think that there's, you know, a way that the Musk guys will spin that as a W for them in a way that I don't love. However, he's actually in the Senate. He's a senator. He's one of 100 people in that chamber of government that can negotiate directly with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, and he's trying to have an ear into the president of the United States instead of nothing. He's not just a guy shouting at them that they can use for branding. Okay, so it has a little more teeth to it. And my favorite approach is the one of Mark Frost, who he just described right here. Like, of course, you put it to a vote and it's something good, I'll vote for it, right? But I'm not going to come out here and launder the reputations of a bunch of evil bastards in the hope that they decide to do something good.
Yep, and specifically with Bernie, I think it's actually a pretty consistent approach because he did the same thing under Joe Biden, and it actually resulted in him, getting significant influence over that administration. So obviously he's not going to become like the Senate budget chairman. He's not going to have the same amount of influence under Trump, but I totally agree with you. He actually has power, unlike Cenk Uygur, who's an influencer. It's just totally different.
Maxwell Frost and Rokana. I think that you should say,
Frost. I think I said Mark Frost, the guy that made Twin Peaks. LOL.
I'm willing to work with Doge. I'm willing to work with MAGA, but I just don't believe that they're going to put their money where their mouths are because we have a record. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. He didn't do any of the populist, any of the productive things he promised to do. And so if Cenk were to show more incredulity and say, listen, I'm willing to, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, but I really don't believe that you all are going to do that because you didn't do it before, and MAGA, you didn't hold Trump accountable before. But it's the grace. It's the benefit of the doubt. And the other frustrating thing is that in and of itself would be a bit of a problem for me. But as somebody who consumes quite a bit and has consumed quite a bit of Cenk's content, I like Cenk Uygur. I liked him more before this, quite frankly. But he withholds the benefit of the doubt from Democrats. AOC, he criticizes her relentlessly for the compromises that she makes to get power. No, don't you work with Nancy Pelosi. No, don't you work with the establishment. You've got to stay true to your principles. No compromise. But he'll make compromises to work with MAGA. These are mutually exclusive.
He'll also make compromises to take corporate super PAC money, something that he would freak the fuck out if AOC started doing.
That's such a good point, and Josiah put that really well. I didn't even really thought about that, but you're totally right. Cenk has been viciously critical of AOC for basically the same sort of strategy that he's now applying to MAGA, which is like, you got to suck up to whoever's in power if you want to have any chance of getting shit done, which has kind of been the disguise that Cenk has cloaked his grift in, right? Oh, no, it's actually about strategy and, got to go where they are to change their mind, even though I'm going to basically agree with them on 90% of shit. But yeah, that's exactly the same shit he scolded AOC for, playing nice with the people in power, cuddling up to the people in power, instead of being that aggressive, progressive left flank that's there to burn the fucking house down.
And you know what I think it really boils down to, Gavin? We saw two roads diverged in a congressional wood, if you will. And I think there's no better demonstration of those two roads you can walk down. AOC clearly went down the road that was more traveled by, right? She went down the one where it was steeping herself in the swamp. Oh, my career is really important because if I'm not in Congress, then, oh my God, then I won't be the one that's making the decisions, right? That kind of self-outlook, of saying like, oh, it has to be me, it has to be me. It's kind of what they want from you in Congress, right? The other path is that of Cori Bush. Cori Bush did say, fuck you, I'm not voting for that infrastructure bill after you completely took all of the teeth out of it. She said, we need $6 trillion over 10 years in this country to adequately address our infrastructure, and even that might not be enough. I can't go back to the people of St. Louis and say, I agreed to pennies on the dollar. I won't do it. And when they decided, oh, we're gonna try and trick MAGA. No, we got an absolute shambles. What was it, like 800 billion, 850 billion over 10 years. Crazy. Just a pittance in compared to what was needed, right? Because there was the bipartisan bill, and then there was the bill that was going to be the one that the Democrats fought for with the majority, but the Democrats never fight for anything, so we didn't get that. Cori Bush walked the walk.
She also went on the Vanguard.
She went on the Vanguard, that's true.
That's a sign of what was to come.
Potentially the downward decline of her political... No, she went on our show before she won, to be fair. And she was very nice to us. We had, 15 subscribers when she agreed to come on our show. What a gracious woman.
I can't believe she was wasting her time with us, to be honest.
She was so kind. But she did what Cenk always demands. She did what people like us demand. In fact, when things settle down, I would love to have her back on the show and be like, yo, what did you learn about this strategy that we always say we have to do? Do you think it's right or wrong? Would you go back and behave more or less like AOC, right? What would you like to know? Do you think he'll ever run for Congress again? Do you think he'll try and get back in there? And because one of the things that I remember is we were really hard on all of the squad members, but I think in hindsight, Cori Bush showed a ton of courage while she was in Congress. And I would like to give her flowers for that. And then just, again, juxtapose it by the fact that Cenk tried so hard to go the AOC route and he belly flopped, and now he's going to the right wing.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. Although she did write that kind of cringy book that some people criticized her for taking the book deal on. Remember, it like totally flopped or something.
Oh, she had some scandals. That's for sure. I don't know if any of it's like horseshit or like the security guard thing that she married. It's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, she married. That was actually romantic. I was like, there should be like a movie. There is a movie that's based on a similar story called The Bodyguard.
With Kevin Costner, right?
Yeah, where someone like this chick falls in love with the dude who's protecting her. Basically, what happened with Tory Bush. Very romantic if you think
also
about it.
Also an episode of The West Wing. Yeah. It makes sense if you're spending all that time with somebody and they're like your protector. It's kind of Princess Bride coded, right? So anyway, I don't begrudge her for that at all.
That, like he was getting paid all this money. But anyway.
I mean, hey, bro. like nepotism's never reigned in Washington.
I'm not
no, that's what I'm kidding. But anyway.
If my fucking wife was a security guard, I'd make her my security guard too.
Yeah. Hell yeah, I'd make her my security guard too.
Either way, let's keep watching
positions, and so to me that heightens it even more. It's like if it's okay for you to break bread with MAGA over potentially mutual goals, then you should be cheerleading when AOC and progressives are willing to work with, like when Senator Sanders worked with President Biden during President Biden's term in office. It resulted in the least neoliberal policy, the most progressive policy we have seen from a sitting president since at least President Johnson. Do you give Bernie Sanders credit for that, Cenk? Do you give a permission structure for that? Are you celebrating him? Are you applauding him? No. And that to me is where the real issue is.
Yeah, and I think he'd obviously dispute these compromises.
That's a great point too, because like, don't get me wrong, guys. I actually agree with a lot of Cenk Uger's criticisms of Joe Biden. There was a debate about like 2 or 3 years into Biden's administration between Cenk and Destiny was like unwilling to criticize Biden at all. He was like, what do you mean? He did all this. He's the most progressive president of our entire life. And Cenk was like, what are you talking about? Like, he accomplished maybe 15% of his agenda at most, which may look impressive compared to Obama or whatever, but to your average American, that's nothing. It's not actually like meaningfully improving their life. And I agree with that. But it does seem now that if Donald Trump in his, new term, in his second term, I feel like if Donald Trump accomplished even half of what Joe Biden has accomplished, that Cenk would now be doing cartwheels, bending over backwards to give him credit, right? Like if Donald Trump passed the infrastructure bill, if Donald Trump appointed an awesome NLRB, if Donald Trump appointed someone like Lena Khan, you know what I mean? I feel like Cenk would be shitting his fucking pants. He'd be fucking, feces would be, flying out of his fucking drawers, bro. He'd be so excited about giving Trump credit. But when it comes to Biden, he was like, no, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not giving credit to that. That's half measure.
Dude, that is so perfectly said. When you compare it directly, like, hey, how did you respond to this president and how did you respond to that president? You take away party and you take away affiliation and you take away all of that. I think it's pretty fair to say when we went in, we were expecting Joe Biden to just be a Republican president who respected the Constitution enough to step down if it was demanded of him, to not do a January 6th. Hopefully, we were wrong. We hoped he wouldn't get us into a new war, right? We hope. We're totally wrong about that. I mean, after the Afghanistan withdrawal, I was like, oh my God, this could be actually something substantial where we don't.
That's another thing, though. Imagine if Trump got out of Afghanistan at this point. Cenk would have been like, woohoo, we have the new populist. He's been anointed.
And instead, he's completely moved the goalpost. He has done MAGA a huge favor. He has done Donald Trump a huge favor. He has come out here and he has, I don't know, laundered what was an insalvageable reputation on the left. When I was 18 years old, if I thought that you voted for Donald Trump, I would have wanted to vomit. Okay, if I thought that one of my homies was like at all curious about MAGA, like I would be like, dude, should we fight so I can knock some fucking sense into you? Like, what the hell is the matter with you? Like, that would be where my head was at. It would have been unthinkable. I'd be like, bro, you got some shit you need to get off your chest? Like, you got some white pride I need to knock the fuck out you? Like, what's going on? Like, that would be my response. It would have been so, like, it would have been immediately on. And then all of your boys would have looked at you and been like, dude, what the hell are you on? What crack pipe are you smoking? And for Cenk to try and participate in the laundering of that very earned reputation, like, I'm sorry, but change your fucking mind. before you come asking for forgiveness. And the fact that you can just decide like, no, actually, I'm going to change all of my standards and I'm going to whitewash this monster and then try and be like, I was the one that cared enough to try and run against him. No, you cared enough to try and promote your book that you knew was going to flop in disaster, and it still did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I've heard him say that, no, it's just that I'll let them come to my position if it means being anti-corruption or something, even though they support the super corrupt guy. And just let's play more clips because they'll perfectly set up some of those discussions. But I agree with you. What's difficult about this one is people want to quickly say this is grift. This is
cool. Yeah, we can probably move on to the Q&A whenever, but I agree with Gavin. But really appreciate the fact that two of these more liberal-leaning guys are joining our crusade and saying, hey, listen, we're not going to participate in the laundering of the MAGA reputation. We're not going to participate in the dilution of the resistance, right? We're not going to tell everybody, oh, it's not so bad. And I thought your point, Gavin, about how if Joe Biden had done any of these things, right? If Joe Biden if Donald Trump had done any things that Joe Biden did. Imagine if Donald Trump was the first president to stand with the United Auto Workers.
Yeah.
He would shit his fucking...
He'd be like, take yes for an answer, guys. Take yes for an answer.